Everybody loves Hard Knocks. But you particularly love Hard Knocks when you have a superstar that's going to be debuted. And it was announced earlier today that the Jets will be on this season's of Hard Knocks. Now, Rodgers is a new teammate to the Jets after 18 seasons on the Packers. His squad reports to training camp next week. I cannot wait. It's a privilege to do the show every day because y'all are watching, but it's also a privilege to do the show when we have teammates that played with superstars, teammates that led the league in receiving touchdowns, which James did in 2012, I believe 14 of them, teammates that won Super Bowls with the likes of Aaron Rodgers. So no better person to have this conversation than the one sitting to my right. Do you think that Hard Knocks will be great for Aaron Rodgers? Do you love it or do you hate it?
I love it for him because, I think the world is going to be able to kind of get an insight on how Aaron Rodgers really is. You know, you see Aaron Rodgers interviews, everybody like he come off a little sour and all that type stuff, which a lot of us, we really don't like the media anyway, so we try to get up out of there, go get to lunch or whatever. But, no, I think this will be really good for Aaron, strictly because the world is going to see how great of a teammate he is. This dude, I've been around, I played with Aaron Rodgers for eight years, right? Really good friend of mine, but he's a character. He's a character in the locker room. He's a character on the football field. He's a perfectionist. Yeah. So you're going to be able to see how this dude prepares, how he's getting these young fellas ready. A lot of the stuff he talk about, obviously, they're not going to give you everything, but you'll be able to see truly the type of person and teammate Aaron Rodgers is. This dude's a jokester. I done seen him put turkeys and crabs and all that in people's lockers and all that, jokesters in the meeting rooms. I done seen him at weddings. They like the wedding over. He like, no, it's not here. How much cash you need? We're going to add a couple extra hours on this wedding. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be really good for the world to be able to see Aaron Rodgers in that light, to truly see what type of dude he is.
Well, Joy, what do you think? I cannot wait for your opinion of this one. Aaron Rodgers, love or hate it? Hard Knocks.
Oh, my God, I love it so much for us. I love it so much for me. Yeah. For me, it's a gift. And I'll let you guys in on something. If it's good for me, I'm going to feel good about it. And this is good for me. This is good for us. This is a blessing. This is Christmas morning. Hard Knocks obviously is usually interesting, but when you put the biggest headline of the offseason, the biggest storyline of this NFL season on Hard Knocks, and it's Aaron Rodgers, and it's New York, it's amazing. Now, how it's going to be for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, I don't know, but I have a few little nuggets for you. Remember the last time the New York Jets were on Hard Knocks was the year that my brother, Jason Taylor, hi Jay, was on the Jets. He couldn't find the facility. That was like, you remember, it was a very notorious year. Yeah. Rex was crazy, Yeah. They were the most successful team since the 2001, since it started. Out of every team. 2001, Ravens, lost the divisional round. Cowboys missed. Chiefs missed. Cowboys missed. Miss. Lost wild card. Miss. Lost. Not really a successful season if Hard Knocks is in their building to the start of the season. Except for the Jets. They went to the AFC Championship game. Now they lost, but they did make it to the AFC Championship game. And guess who won the Super Bowl that year? Aaron Rodgers. Time is a flat circle. I don't know how good it's going to be for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
I like where she took us there.
But it is, I'm thrilled. Couldn't be happier.
Well, that was well done. I will say they got it right in terms of Hard Knocks because I feel like we have so much access now that you need something really unique. And as soon as this came up, I'm like, oh, they got it. They got it right. So I love it for us. Kind of hate it for Aaron. And I hear your point, James.
I love it for him.
I understand that there's a part of Aaron that we may not have seen. I don't know if we're going to see it on Hard Knocks, but I do know that the more we've peeled back on Aaron and the behind-the-scenes Aaron, the quirkier and the stranger he has appeared. We've got the acid trips. We've got the darkness retreats. We've got the relationships with Olivia Munn and Danica Patrick. We've got the strained relationship with his family. So I don't know where it's going to go. And like I said, I'll be interested to see where it goes and if they capture it. But if I think about the way I looked at Aaron Rodgers, say 10, 15 years ago, before I knew all of kind of the personal viewpoints and all of that, I'd say I had a more gilded perspective on him than I do now. So it'll be entertaining one way or the other.
Let me say it like this. I love it for Aaron Rodgers because, interestingly enough, I think our opinion of Aaron Rodgers will likely be shifted positively. James is an OG particularly when you talk about the likes of his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. I haven't heard too many OGs that don't like Aaron Rodgers. I know a bunch of young pups that don't. Know a bunch of them. But when you talk about whether it's James, I spent time with Bakhtiari. I've trained in an offseason back in the gap with Clay Matthews. Whether you talk about Randall Cobb, who I obviously know well. Whether you talk about Jordy Nelson. If you think about some of the old heads, even Greg Jennings, I think they had a little public tiff, but now since they have amended it, all the old heads love Aaron Rodgers. There's got to be a reason. Got to be a reason. I mean, he ain't crazy. He's been sitting with us the last 3 days. He ain't crazy.
I don't know.
So, like, there has to be something that we don't know. And I think the more we see some of these inside access things, opinions change. Slick, we didn't need any more ammo to love Michael Jordan. We didn't. But when we saw The Last Dance,
there it is,
and we saw, was he sick? Was it pizza?
Yeah.
We didn't need any more ammo to think, Dennis Rodman, a wild boy. But when we saw The Last Dance and we heard he went to Vegas for 2 nights and then like Jordan or whoever had to go bring him back and all that, we were like, Rodman even crazier than we thought. I'll personalize it, then I'll hand the ball to you. Last night, when I wasn't watching the Netflix premiere, when I wasn't at, the premiere with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Must be nice.
When I wasn't there. So a movie, y'all got to check it out. But last night, when I was watching that, there was a scene between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Never before seen. I won't spoil the whole thing, but Patrick Mahomes gets into it with Max Crosby, beast for the Raiders, obviously, In that scene, you can see Patrick Mahomes, what he's saying to Max Crosby. Afterwards, after the movie, I'm talking to Pat, and I'm like, I didn't know you had that in you. He's like, yeah, y'all see a lot more of that dog in me than the world lets y'all to believe. I left thinking, Pat like that. Not his game, his game is like that. I left thinking, Pat got some dog in him that I never before realized. I think we will think the same of Aaron Rodgers. It might not be dog, it might not be this, but we will leave with a different impression.
100%. I honestly, I hope you're right. But what I wonder, and I don't know, and maybe this will answer, is do the OGs respect and have a different view of Aaron because of who he was then versus who he is now? And who is he going to be surrounded by? Yeah, there's a couple guys that have come along for the ride, but this is going to be brand new young guys. How's that, what's that interaction going to be? And it may very well be good, but I don't know. There is, because of what you pointed out, there's such a disparity between the guys who ride and die with him, and then the guys who are like,
Well, number one, it's always like that because when you come into a building and you got a leader and a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, it's done a certain way. Just like when people say, I hate playing for New England because it's done a certain way over there, right? So you get a lot of young players coming in there. They want to do this. They know this is how it's done. You got what I'm saying? This is how we are going to do it here, right? So a lot of that stuff, sometimes it could be like, hey, I'm a shy away from them. I don't know relationship-wise to do that. We wasn't like that. We came in there as OGs, whatever it is. Hey, this is how it's going to get done. And it turned into winning the championship. Number two, the Jets ain't want this. The Jets didn't want, we heard this coming out, Robert Saleh, we don't want to be on Hard Knocks, we don't want this. So now that they got it, you think they finna let some of that stuff come out? This is going to be done perfect. It's going to be done the right way to shed light on Sauce, to shed light on 12, to shed light on everybody in that organization to make it the right way. I promise you that. And you will see Aaron Rodgers' personality. It'll be much better, just like The Last Dance.
I mean, realistically speaking, we all know way too much about each other. We should all know less about each other. We should have more of a mystery about each other. So when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I hear you, Slick. And yes, Aaron has had his public moments that kind of all made us go, okay, was a twist I wasn't expecting. It was a long list of those and some very, notorious ones. Yeah. But, I mean, to do this job for me, you have to separate art from artists in some capacity.
Sure.
In order to be not fair, but reasonable and give your opinion. And also, these are human beings. So we know that there's this heightened spotlight on what they do and say that is not really realistic. We're going to pick apart things at a higher level. So I don't really need to learn what kind of person Aaron Rodgers is because that's never really played a part in who I think he is as a player. I don't know him personally. You know him personally. I don't know him personally. So maybe he's a good guy, maybe he's a terrible guy. I don't know. Some people think I'm a terrible person. People think I'm a great person. That doesn't change my opinion of myself. So really, what I'm interested to see is how is Aaron Rodgers adjusting to the Jets? How is he dealing with younger players that aren't OGs? What's his relationship like with Saleh? What's his relationship like with the rest of the offensive coaches? Like, I don't need the personal thing because that doesn't matter to me.
But here's what's so fascinating. I would disagree only because, well, I do agree in large part. You and I have had many extensive conversations about separating artist from the art. I have a hard time doing that. If I know somebody's not a good person, oftentimes, I'll be honest, I apologize to y'all, it influences my take. Like if I see somebody I know, you're just not a good human being, it's hard for me to be like, yo, but it's just hard for me personally. That's my own thing. I have to deal with that. But oftentimes in sports, at least in my experience, the artist can impact the art. The only time I know of it not being so is really Brian Dawkins. Brian Dawkins off the football field was like kind, you know, all the things. On the football field, he was a different type of killer. I mean, completely different. But usually, if you selfish off the field, that selfishness is going to creep in on. If you're selfless off the field, that selflessness is going to creep in on. And so if Rodgers shows me, and I'll be quick, if Rodgers shows me more selfishness, more solitude, more isolation, in Hard Knocks, then I might wonder, okay, well, see, Rodgers, that's why this, that's why that, that's why this.
No, I hear you, but it still circles back to, like, that's not our personal experience with him. That's why these shows are so interesting, and that's why they don't want them in the building, because it does create oftentimes narratives that otherwise we wouldn't be talking about because we don't have that access, this intimate look that is, of course, edited and shot very editorially and stirs the emotions and all those things. So if I personally know somebody's garbage, because I personally know they're garbage. So I know that that is part of who they are as a character and whatever they do. But we're going to see a glimpse. And that's, again, to James's point, that's why teams don't want this. So that's why I find it very, very interesting that this is already a biggest storyline with a guy that we all have our personal opinions about throughout time because he's been in our lives for as long as he hasn't been in the spotlight. On top of the fact that it's New York, it's going to be a very, very interesting season.
Slick, take us home.
Yeah, for me, it's from my perspective, like I've always admired him as a quarterback, and I've always figured that his excellence and his efficiency is a result of him being a perfectionist. So I don't know that I'm going to learn anything there that I don't already believe. But part of what Hard Knocks does is it does take us into personal lives. It does show people who they are as people. And, you know, up until now, the glimpses that I've gotten of Aaron has been a little like, oh, okay, so that's who he is. And not that it's going to color one or the other, but it does see me in a certain, it doesn't have me see him in a certain light.
I love it. I think with more knowledge, like Joy always says, you can update your information. So the more knowledge, the more access to more information, that allows us to be better for you all.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.